right, thank you for staying with the State of the Nation. Today we are talking about the state of devolution. What are the challenges? What are the possible solutions? At Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Daybreak. My guest is still with me. His Excellency Francis Mwangangi is here as the Deputy Governor for Machakos. Honorable Priscilla Nyokavi is here, former Women Rep Nyeri, and also National Gender Equality Commission Commissioner, former. Thank you for making time. CPA Githinji Kiragu, Chairman IGRTC, that is Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Asante for making time. And joining us online is His Excellency Wangamati, former governor for Bungoma. And let's talk about now the challenges facing devolution before we get into the solutions. And I'll bring you in, Wangamati. Wangamati, what are the challenges in your view that is the biggest challenge facing devolution 15 years down the line?
Thank you very much, Trevor. And I think some challenges, Mwangangi, the current Deputy Governor for Machakos outlined, but there are quite a number of them. One, Trevor, the biggest challenge with devolution I'll speak now is the disbursement of funds to counties. I think what we have seen over the last two terms of devolution, and even in this current third term of devolution, is that the bank laid by national government in this disbursement of funds to counties. My own experience that I've seen over the last financial year, the 2024-2020 financial year, is that they delay dispersing these funds and ultimately then disperse the funds the last month, the last day of the financial year. You know, you disperse like 2 months worth of the disbursement funds on the last 2 or 3 days. So that is a very fundamental problem. Secondly, the other biggest challenge that is facing a devolution is basically removing all the functions that are supposed to be done by counties from national government to counties. And I can give you an example, Trevor, that I saw Deputy Governor Machakos speak about. Trevor, agriculture and health are fully involved functions. When you look at the national budget of this country, even this financial year, the 2025-2026 budget, the Minister of Agriculture and the National Bank, I think they've been allocated about 130 billion. The Minister of Health have been allocated about 130 billion. The Ministry of Agriculture has been allocated about 48 billion. Now, these are functions that are supposed to be done by counties. The biggest role of national government in the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Agriculture is basically about policy making. And of course, running, maybe it is the Minister of Health, you talk about the county referral hospital like Kenyatta National Hospital, like Moi Teaching Referral Hospital in Eldoret. But that does not amount to the fact that you have these massive funds that are sitting at a national level that are supposed to be devolved to the counties. Thirdly, the other biggest challenge that is facing devolution, Trevor, is the issue of on-source revenue. I think it's something that, as counties, we have not done very well. When you look at what national government has pushed down to counties over the last 12 years, it's probably close to about 4.5 trillion Kenya shillings. What we have collected as counties, maybe it's about 10% of that. When you look at the report by the World Bank and even by Treasury, the potential of on-source revenue by counties stands at about 300 billion. In the last financial year, 2023-2024, if I look at the numbers, counties budgeted for about 80 billion. They ended up collecting just under about 60 billion, about 70%. So we have an issue there. The fourth thing, in my own view, one of the biggest challenges that we also have is the issue of pending bills, which affects both national government and county governments. And I think, as we speak now, the pending bills of county governments about 170 billion Kenya shillings relative to national government, about 500, 600 billion Kenya shillings. Then the last one, which is probably the biggest challenge that we have and affects also both national government and county government, is corruption in the counties. And I can tell you it's a very serious issue in the counties and the same as in the national government. So those are about, in my own view, some of the challenges that are facing counties. The sixth one, which is an issue, is the payment. We still, as I remember I mentioned on this forum again, 2 years ago, Trevor, that for counties to be paid, someone has to travel. If you're in Bungoma, someone has to live in Bungoma, go to Nairobi, the control of budget, get it approved, go to the central bank, get it approved before payment is done. You know, and I think in my own view, and I say it, and I'm consistent saying it, and even when I was the chair of the Finance Committee of COG, I pushed for this. I think we need to get to a level where we actually devolve the FMS system so that our payments are done at a local level than somebody all the way traveling all to Nairobi just to get a payment to be done.
Okay. We'll try and... All right, we'll try and get the solutions to all this, but let me hear what Nyokabi has to say about this. What do you see as the biggest challenge, having been a woman rep yourself, now serving at Homa Bay? What are some of the biggest challenges in your view?
One for me is the burden of history.
Okay.
A huge burden of history that, you know, in 1963-64, which was our first constitution, we actually had devolution and we had Senate. In Lancaster, that was a big discussion, and I think that because we are a divided society, we always need a devolution, because that's also how you take care of sharing a cake that is not very big and you're very many. I mean, we have 45 communities in Kenya. In fact, two things we ought to have had is a parliamentary system and the devolution system, both of which we had in the first constitution. Mzungu had read us right. You won't believe it. We came here and the first thing we dismantled is the very devolution. So Constitution 1963-64, we did away with devolution. Tukaingoa, tukamaliza Senate, tuka gerrymander hizo viti, masenators waka absorbiwa kwa National Assembly. So now from 64 up to Constitution of Kenya 2010, we then are a national government, we are a centralist government, and that's what we've known. So that's about, say, 40, 50 years of the same thing. Then in 2010, we now realize we have to go back to where we started. So we go back to devolution, and we go back to the Senate, and we go back. We still don't get the parliamentary system, but at least we get the devolution system. So that burden of history, the people who then were so invested, so the national government is so invested in the nationally, you know, the centralism that he's talking about. So the centralist is so deeply entrenched and so deeply rooted, so the burden of history. And I think that is what we need to unshackle ourselves from. Let us see the new promise of devolution, the new promise of counties, the new promise of what we can do better. Because we're just discussing here at T, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Water. Do you know nothing has changed? They are the same. Before 2010, after 2010. Where is devolution now? Where has devolution happened? We ought to really, really, you know, go out of our way to unshackle ourselves from the burden of history. The national government served us for a while. It did what it could do. We are still here. We are still standing. We are a stable country. Now we have a new promise. New children have come. Can we also give them a chance to grow? And it won't be giving them a chance to grow kwa mdomo. Is a chance to grow with finances. It must just be finances. Because national government, for example, has no land on which to grow anything. The land is in the counties. So the natural thing, if we want to grow agriculture, and now we have a problem of jobs, and we have a major problem of employment creation, which means agro-processing. But we can't do that if the resources are not with the counties that they need to do the seasons, cotton, coffee, tea, avocado, you know, fish, all of those things. But now counties are really, really hamstrung. So I agree with this process of, in fact, we need to move to a place, and I would be happy that the chair of IGTRC is here, where the schedule, once the County Revenue Allocation Act has been done, and this is the money that has been allocated to Homa Bay and to Machakos, it operates almost like a standing order. Because now counties 3-4 months, you're still waiting for capitation. Even the little money, again, is stuck. So we make those, and I'm hoping that in the Devolution Conference that is coming up in Homa Bay, those are some of the conversations. How do we now perfect what we have? We now need to kill the theory. You know, for some time there, you remember even Senate being at risk. After 2010, there are people who also thought, ni ile ya weka tusonge. There's another principle of law. Watu wakiargue sana unasema weka, ndio tusonge. Hasa hata hii devolution, kuna watu wengine wanananga tulieka, ndio tupate katiba mpya. So kuna watu bado walikuwa na hope, ati hata ikipita, tutaingoa. Sasa hiyo hope ya kungoa, imeisha. Nobody is ngowing nothing. Nobody is ngowing Senate, nobody is ngowing devolution, nobody is reducing nothing. Now let us go to making them effective. And that conversation is possible. So we make effective the transfers of money, you know, the procedures. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. It works like a standing order. And then you have corruption, fighting corruption in the counties, because one of the worst things is true that there is corruption at both levels of government, but now the one at county level is going to be more pressing because it is health, it is water, it is the devolved functions. Yeah. And then now go into real system, because if you look at the money that the national government has, like now at 415 billion, which is the best that we've had of the devolved resources, you will still see a lot of other budgets that were still available to go to devolved units but have been left at the national level. And now we have a misnomer, because now you have national level trying to do devolved functions, instead of giving the counties money for the counties to be able to do those devolved functions. And even these problems of corruption, remember there is a 5-year mandate to be renewed. If there is corruption at county level, the citizens are also aware of access to information, you know, public participation, participating in county level budgets. There is so much also we can do to ensure that corruption is fought.
But is that corruption a people problem or a policy issue? Because for the county where you serve, for example, they used to collect up to 320 million on-source revenue.
Sure. But
when Governor Wanga came in, it moved all the way to 800 million.
And is now over $1 billion.
And it's getting over $1 billion. But nobody's asking that at the time they were collecting 320, where was this 700 million before?
Yeah, true that. But it's not just, it's also the growth of systems. For example, Governor Gladys Wanga, what she has done is now to create a real edifice around on-source revenue, from the revenue board to the revenue laws to the automated system to cashless systems, and to really just be, you know, lead from the front. So again, that is the growth of counties, those automation, technology, you know, development at that level. So you're right, it's true. In fact, for me, I'm not usually so, you know, concerned about what has passed, because it has passed. We were collecting 300 million. We can, the ESCC and the Auditor General and all those, because we have post-mortem bodies. So the post-mortem bodies can go and post-mortem what happened. But we also have the futuristic. Now that we are at 1-point-something billion, how do we move forward with that 1-point-something billion? And how does that money now create impact? Because it's not just collecting on-source revenue. It's what do you do with that on-source revenue to create impact? So technology. In fact, technology for counties is now a must. And then automation, but also you're right about systemic, you know, cure of this corruption. The systems, the laws, the participation, the oversight, you know, the following the procedures, the PFM, public procurement law, because counties should also not operate. But also that is a mistake of the national government, because national government has seen counties as prefect to our counties. There's not one prefecting the other. It is actually sharing of skills, because the national government has very strong skills, for example, in treasury. Those skills should have, every county treasury should have the same level of expertise, the same level of capacity to run a proper government. Okay,
let me bring in CPA Kiragu on this. These issues we are talking about are not new. So what is the problem? Do we need a policy shift? Do we need a people shift? What is the problem here?
Yeah, we need a shift in mindsets in very important constituencies of the national government, in sections of the national leadership. In that, I think there are many who, first of all, are skeptical, as she indicated. They thought maybe devolution is just here temporarily. And so they have not really committed to devolution. And the national leadership positions at technical level, you are director, you are PS, you are cabinet secretary, but you don't believe in devolution. Is a major problem. So that is one aspect of it. So if we go to the fundamentals, we need to have a shared vision mindset about the importance of devolution. I have heard His Excellency the President talk about how devolution is key to long-term survival of this country. And if that is a shared sense of mission of devolution, and if we have a shared vision of where devolution is taking us, and that therefore devolution is critical. If devolved governments don't deliver, the country is not delivering. If you want socio-economic transformation of this country at the required pace of development, where we are handling unemployment, where we are doing well in terms of even national revenue collection, then And therefore, we are seeking to get the Vision 2030 10% rate of economic growth. Devolution has to work. County governments have to work. There are many people who are in leadership positions in the country, whether they are in the legislature, members of parliament, whether they are cabinet secretaries, whether they are senior executive officers, who do not have that sense of purpose of devolution. Therefore, that skepticism or ignorance, or in some cases, shall we say, lack of knowledge, are we together, and information. So I would say everybody needs also, even in the ones also in devolution, need to better understand what Article 6 says of the devolution, that the two systems, yes, are distinct, for sure, and therefore distinctiveness should be recognized. They are interdependent. We need to work well together. And then Article 174, as I said earlier, you know that devolution is not just about giving people services. Yeah. It's about making sure that everybody feels they are part of this nation and they are benefiting from the transformation of the nation. Okay. But as Honorable Nyokapi has said, we also need then also to go to counties to do better in terms of fiscal management, in terms of their systems, so that they handle staff better, they have a better managed wage bill, they had better ways of collecting own source revenue, that corruption is minimized at that level, but corruption is there both at the national level and at the county level, so let us not use corruption as a statement against the devolution. And therefore, let me say, therefore, that all these issues, even we are talking about disbursement of funds, the problems of transfer of functions and resources, all those are symptomatic. Because if the people in the National Treasury embrace the fact that they are not taking this country forward in terms of socio-economic transformation at the required pace, if devolved governments are not working, then they will not integrate the transfer of resources. And they would be working very hard to make sure that the counties are supported to deliver the resources. So that, to me, I think is the most fundamental. And every one of us who understands these things, including you people in the media, Trevor, need to understand this and to work towards it. Okay. That the devolution has to work for this country to move forward. And let's avoid all the side shows about how many that we should have fewer county governments. The literature we have on devolution from Europe, France, and so on, shows that, you know, the more you devolve, the better for management. But it is the case even in every important organization, every ministry which has important work to do. You know, that's why Ministry of Agriculture, even in the past, had district agriculture officers, because it needed to devolve from ministry headquarters to the county government. Okay. Therefore, the issue that, you know, we have too many county governments, that is not really a realistic statement. Okay. The real problem is everybody who matters in this country needs to embrace devolution. Okay. And needs to understand how critical it is that our county governments deliver for the nation to move at the right speed.
Okay. Mwangangi, the reason why that conversation around reducing the number of counties keeps coming up is because there's a perception that there's duplication of roles, a lot of it from national government and to county governments as well. So many people suggest that the solution then would be to reduce the number of counties and also in the process reduce the bureaucracies, reduce the duplication of roles and have more resources. Your own Council of Governors chair was here yesterday speaking to Ayub Abdikadir, and he said based on the number of functions that have been transferred to the counties, your allocation should have been 536 billion, but it is more, it's just slightly over 400 billion. So isn't it a solution that then the counties should reduce? Are they all viable as is?
To enjoy the freedom that we are enjoying, and in the words of an African writer, Ole Soyinka, he said the biggest threat to freedom is lack of criticism. Now, this freedom we are enjoying, whether economic, whether free speech, whether free association, or freedom to associate, are courtesy of the policies that were put in by someone we keep on referring to, President Kibaki. Raila Odinga once told us fish woza kutoka kichwa, which were also repressed words from Sir James, that fish stinks first from the head. If we had a leadership that appreciates and embraces devolution, we would not be talking about failure to devolve fully what is supposed to be done to counties. By now, everything should have been gone, followed by the resources, and we will not be talking about duplication at all.
So it's a leadership failure.
Exactly. Today,
yeah,
if the president of Kenya wants to end corruption in this country, it will end. I will tell you, it will end.
How?
Give free hand. Stop state capture. Stop directing what to be done. Allow each and everyone to do what he or she is supposed to do. Allow EACC to do their mandate, to execute their mandate fully. Hold them to account. Let Parliament work freely. Let DCI work freely. Don't come to national TV and tell us how you fired a director of DCI. We want them to be held to account. I want to be held to account by Kenyans as a deputy governor in a county. Why does this office exist? What is that you are doing to benefit the people who elected you? So, one of the major problems we have in this country is failure to put the interests of the country first. But instead, we have our own personal interests first. I'm not a journalist, but I consume what comes from the both international and local media. Is it not so long ago that the Kenyan president was declared the second most corrupt person on earth? How do you expect investors abroad who see that kind of
headline
announcement invest in Kenya? How do you expect the existing businesses whose origin is foreign and where corruption is a serious thing, how do you expect them to expand in this country? So it is a question of the kind of leadership at ward level, at constituency level, at county level, and at national level that the country has.
Okay.
Finally, it is possible for this country to have a budget of even more than 20-30 trillion if we focus on devolution objectively and think of how truly do we make counties centers of creation and innovation.
Okay.
How do you explain, Trevor, one leader, just one leader, as an example, within 2 weeks, you have choppers moving from one place to another and dishing out millions of shillings. In fact, one person donating 200 million. And we know your salary. Why don't you call a meeting in Uhuru Park and tell Kenyans the kind of business you do so that they can also do the same to get that kind of money? Mm-hmm. And yet we are saying devolution is lacking resources. Yet we are seeing another group of leaders. We used to call them during our time in Parliament with the Honorable Nyokabi, Sky Team. Mm. Now it has resurfaced with the 1992 YK style of operation. Mm. When they are not donating monies to women, they are doing this. Where is the source of this money?
Okay.
So if we look at devolution objectively, Trevor, this country will have enough for us as a country, and even foreigners from, not foreigners, that is the East Africans. Allow me to withdraw the term foreigners, because we are Africans. And I want to view each other as citizens, people created by God. We will have our sisters and brothers from Uganda unemployed, getting employment here, even from the regional country, after we have fully taken care of Kenya. But why are we not doing that? Self-interest, other than the national interest of the country.
All right, let's talk about the politics of it all, and let me bring in Wangamati on this. Wangamati, first of all, are we facing a leadership gap? Is that the hindrance to devolution? But before you even answer that, are you running for governor in Bungoma again?
Trevor, before I come to the question that you have asked me about the politics and the leadership, then talk whether I run for governor in Bungoma or not. Let me just go back to what my colleagues have been talking about. And I think, I just want to mention a couple of things. One, there is a very strong argument that as a nation, we should push more resources to the counties. And I think I've said many times, Trevor, that a shilling spent at a national level and a shilling spent at a county level, the shilling spent at a county level is more accountable. People can see and understand and question how that money is being spent. So in terms of accountability, a shilling spent at a county level is more accountable than a shilling spent at a national level. And when you look at what is happening in other countries, Trevor, just to give you an idea, is that like in Nigeria, what has been moved to counties, they have three levels of governments. You have the national government, you have the state, and then you have the local governments, the local authorities, whatever it is. So it's 50-50, 50% at national level, 50% at the world. You look at Japan, 35% at national level, 65% in the counties. You look at India, 60% national level, 40% counties. You look at Brazil, 55 national level, 45 counties. So there's an argument that we need to push more resources. Thirdly, I want to agree, I saw a statement over the last 1 month by Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga saying that bodies like Kera and Kura, and I saw you talking about application of rules, Kera and Kura, Trevor, should actually be moved to counties. Kera has a budget of about 15 billion Kenya shillings. Kura has a budget of about 26 billion shillings. Combined, about 40 billion. This money, in my own view, should be pushed to counties. Coming back to your question, Trevor, about the leadership in the counties, yes, we have had devolution 10 years under His Excellency, the former President, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Now we have almost another 3 years under William Samoei Ruto. Now, it is important to appreciate that it's not very easy for people to give up powers that belong to them, or not belong to them, but are with them. So we are struggling in terms of developing more resources. We are struggling in terms of developing more services to the counties. And yes, it may be a question of leadership. It may be a question of commitment by national government to devolution. It may be a question of commitment by people around the national government, whether it's cabinet secretaries, whether it's PSS, whether it's whatever members of parliament. The other day you saw in parliament something that's very straightforward about the levy fund, an argument between National Assembly and COG about the 10 billion. It doesn't make sense. That money needs to go to counties. But, you know, those are issues that we must face and have a conversation around. Thirdly, Trevor, about whether I'm going to run for governor in Bungoma. Let me say this, Trevor, and I said it, I think, a month ago, when I was on your show, as the chair of PSSR, that it is a bit early. We have 2 years to elections. But one thing that I'll tell you, Trevor, during my 5 years as governor in Bungoma, I have a very clear track record. And people know what I did. And I think people now in Bungoma understand. Today, if you ask anyone in Bungoma, they'll tell you Wangamati for 5 years was here. he did this, he built a Goa road, he did a hospital, he did whatever. So at the right time, I'll make my decision, but chances are very high that I'll run come 2027. Okay. Because you can see there's a vacuum.
Governor, the reason why I'm asking you that question is because governments exist in perpetuity, so to speak. So there are those who will come after you. You had a county integrated development plan, CIDP and the ADPs, and then now they want to implement their own plan and abandoning yours. That's why I'm asking you, is that a leadership issue? Because the issues that you started, and then there's also the aspect where senators want to become governors, MCAs want to become MPs, and they want to become senators, therefore convoluting the whole system and the way the county is supposed to work in terms of accountability. And that's the reason why I'm asking you whether this is something you need to focus on in terms of running again for the position.
Yes, I want to agree with you, Trevor, that we have had huge problems with successive administrations. One of the things, and I did acknowledge, Trevor, is that one of the challenges that we have in counties, of course, at national level as well, is the issue of pending bills. And one of the biggest problems that has brought up pending bills is that today you have a governor, he moves on, he leaves the administration, we have a new governor comes in. A new governor comes in, you have pending bills, he puts aside those pending bills, or he appoints a committee to look at those pending bills, then, he starts paying his own pending bills. So that is an issue that we must address as a country, and we can only do that, within a proper legal framework that then forces any new governor that comes in must deal first with the pending bills that were there before he came in, so that we don't have this pile of pending bills. As we speak now, Trevor, I think county governments now owe suppliers over 170 billion Kenyan shillings. That is a lot of money over the last 10 years. So I think it's something that we must deal with.
Okay.
Secondly, I think on the issue of people running for different political offices, whether it is a member of parliament wanting to run for governor, whether a senator wants to run for governor, I think it is the democratic right. And now we have seen even our governors who have done 10 years going back to run as senators. We may see governors moving from being governor to a member of parliament. So those are democratic, it's the democratic right to do that. And I don't think there's any problem to do. Okay.
Nyokabi, is that where our issue is, that there's no political cleanliness, or we're not tidy in our politics? We find a senator, a governor who was a governor now wants to become a senator, the same role that's supposed to oversight his own government. Is that where the problem is? The MCAs want to become MPs, they want to become senators, deputy governors want to become governors, and therefore the whole structure of devolution doesn't function the way it was supposed to be because of what Mwangangi was saying, personal ambition and personal interests.
I'm not honestly sure that that is wrong, because personal ambition is okay. Everybody should be ambitious. I think what we have missed is the oversight organs, especially at county level. The Senate, and Mwangangi and I served in the 11th Parliament, which was also our first Senate. In fact, that's my biggest regret for Senate, because Senate ought to have started the run with the counties. The counties have come, set up the systems, because you spend money by law. You shouldn't spend money in any other way. Even after devolution, we ought to have been very strong on conditional allocations. Because if you look at very successful devolutions, Italy, the US, and even Nigeria, and even South Africa, there are very, very clear laws of spending, especially conditional allocations, even this wage bill and all that. So I think there was a bit of delay, that the counties ran faster than the oversight bodies. And even the biggest regret is now county assemblies. This corruption that we are speaking about should be managed at the assembly level. The county assemblies, I don't know why, they are not growing as fast as we want them to grow and to run with this devolution and to oversight, so that limb of debate around the ambition and all that is not exactly a bad thing, because if you want to be governor, that's not a problem. There will be an election every 5 years. But what are you doing as a county assembly member to convince us that when you become governor, you'll be better? We tried education standards. I mean, a couple of systems we've tried, but all haven't worked. But there's still a lot of work for strengthening devolution, so that, because ambitions will always be there, and there's, I think, nothing wrong in ambition in society. But how then do these different ambitions coexist within a governance system? You know, there are some countries where they have a cooling off period for a governor before you become a senator, so that you don't audit your own. You don't audit your own accounts. I think a cooling, or even like now, if you vie in an election, you can't be an IEBC commissioner. You've got to cool off for, say, 5 years. So we might need to have those cooling off laws. If you're a county assembly member, you cool off, because if you don't want to audit your own, there's something untidy about auditing your own books. Because if you leave governor and then you go straight to Senate, you are now auditing your own records. But that also is because we are not at pace with the audit records. So anyway, there's a bit of hygiene there. But for me, is also the strengthening of laws that relate to devolution. We are just about at the tail end of Vision 2030. So Vision 2030 has run our country to really, really good place. In fact, that's why there's a lot of concern attaching things that are in Vision 2030, like free primary education, free secondary education. I mean, those are the pillars that we now have. They've brought our society to a certain level. For Kenya, we don't need to go back to what is working. If something is working, we improve what is working. We don't dismantle. Because when we dismantle, we're also not very good at building. But now going on, for example, to Vision 2050, AU is at 2063. And the conversations we have here, also the conversations in other African countries. So Vision AU is 2063, but Kenya say Vision 2050 would then mean that devolution is a core pillar. So that now we no longer have this problem of attitude affecting devolution. But the growth of law is one way. I've seen like now health, part of why health is working is the FIF laws, where the money for health remains within health. We still need a lot more conditional allocations, VTCs, and some of the functions that are still struggling. And then I was saying here with the functions that are devolved, agriculture, health, water, markets, county roads, there is no other way. Once a function has been devolved, we just need to let the money accompany functions accompanied by resources. And we are doing that in a progressive way. We now have sort of a lot of work with the SHI and SHA, SHIF and SHA. There's a lot of work, to just kind of make health work at both levels of government with proper devolution structures, because health is a devolved function. Yeah. So once you, for example, achieve that, then you can now go to agriculture and again put, and it is very intentional, it is very decisive, it is very focused. I think we will make progress. My view is, let us strengthen what we have, strengthen this devolution. Right. Let's not fight it, strengthen it.
Kiragu, from an intergovernmental relations perspective, is there something untidy you see in the relationship between MCAs and governors? Because there's always the threat to impeach them. In fact, the Council of Governors chair was saying yesterday that the seat of a governor is the easiest to impeach and the easiest to hinder from working. We've seen Dr. Eric Mutai and Kericho now suffering the issues of MCAs trying to impeach him a second time. We've seen Kawira Mwangaza, we've seen Wambora, we've seen quite a number of them. But also there's that issue between governors and their deputies. We've seen in Siaya, for example, the governor James Orengo and Dr. William Odul are not seeing eye to eye. How do you fix that intergovernmental relationship so that there's seamless service delivery for the people?
First, of course, you cannot totally registrate culture. And the political culture of this country is unhealthy at the moment and has been unhealthy for a long time. Therefore, we need a national conversation on how we can do better as leaders in terms of the hygiene in our political relationships and so forth. But having said that, obviously, we need also to use legislative measures to help us fix a few things. And alongside what Honorable Nyokabi has said, we need some law, we need even some constitutional amendments for the country to bring better political hygiene into the country. And I'm not alluding here even just to the county assemblies, but even at the national level. And maybe we should even just agree that, and I'm saying this from work I've done in terms of academic, research and so forth, we probably could do with less frequency of elections. And that we had a president who ruled us for 7 or 8 years, one term, no re-election. Therefore, they are focused on it. And that is my personal opinion.
That applies across board.
And that should then apply everywhere so that, we are not perpetually in a political debate. That, I think, is one thing which can bring us some political hygiene. But further than that, but even at the moment, there are things which are happening which hopefully are settling out some of these issues. At the moment, the governors and the county assemblies are looking to the same pot of money. And that is at the core of the political problems at the county level. That the county assemblies and the governors have to sit down to agree to share resources. And if you go back to the history, some want one fund, others feel, you know, the governor is taking too much and not giving us our fair share. And therefore, the consensus which is already there between even, I would say, at the summit, at the national and county governments coordinating summit, that is the governors and the president, as well as also at the last Devolution Conference, is that county assemblies should have fiscal autonomy from the governors so that they can manage their own affairs, and therefore the sharing of money is not a debate. Because actually, anywhere where there is sharing of resources, even at the family level, you know, there is politics, there is power play at its worst. So that is something which I think the Senate needs to really, you know, rush in terms of changing the County Governments Act, to give the Public Financial Management Act, also the National Assembly, to give the county assemblies financial autonomy, so that they know their pot. Therefore, they are not bothering the governor about how much resources should give them. And on the other hand, that way, hopefully, the county assemblies will be more forthright in demanding accountability. They will be less prone to compromises by governors in terms of how governors account for the resources that are available. But having said that, let me say that again, even with all those arrangements, of course, devolution is still relatively new. And therefore, the better, we hope in the next elections, we'll have better quality registrators and better quality MCAs. And therefore, you know, we have reason to be optimistic.
So it's also partly the people to blame. You have something to
Yes, just a quick one on political hygiene, a very quick one, which is also a very major one on our political lack of hygiene. Cutting your coat according to your cloth. Like these spending bills. I have not been able to understand my own country, Kenya. We have no cloth. We cut the biggest coat. At national level, at county level.
So living beyond...
We just must have balanced budgets. And we must have priorities as well. Like even say this job creation. Because the coat again is that yeleweki koti yenyewe. First of all, we just have no cloth. Because once you have put money that you don't have, see, ni madeni. We don't do it at family level. At family level, no mother, no father spends money they don't have. Why is it at national level are we spending money that we don't have? So that is what is one of the biggest problems with pending bills. But then another political hygiene problem is this one of half projects, half market, half school, half dormitory, half road, half water, half everything. I mean, we have a half of everything, a quarter of everything. That hiyo ni tabia mbovu kabisa. Finish one project and then move to another, even if it was by your predecessor. And if you look at what Gladys has done, for example, in Homa Bay, whatever was started by the other regime, she has finished the stadium, finished the projects that were there, and then now start yours. And there is enough time to do both.
Mwangangi, on this political hygiene, we haven't seen an issue between yourself and Excellency Wavinya Ndeti, so the Machakos is not one of them where there's political hygiene. But we've seen it in other places. How do you deal with this issue of political hygiene? We've seen a standoff in Siaya, for example. We are now seeing another one coming up in Kericho. We saw another one in Meru. How do you deal with it?
You remember I said, I quoted Sir James and Raila Odinga here on about the fish stinking first from the head. You know, the thing is, Governor Wavinya, for example, came in the year that we came in, the county had collected around 500 or 600 million. And today, as I sit here, we are slightly above 2 billion. Is that performance or not performance? Governor Vinya changed the architect of county development by way of pushing the implementation and the planning of counties, Machakos County's development at the ward level. And that is ensuring equity and fairness. Now, I have no reason. It is not like we don't have different opinions, but there is a way to handle it. Let me make it very clear. Yes, I know some people could be pushing me to take on 2027, but I am saying no. From what she's doing, I think it is the best interest of that county. We have her finish her second term. Then we can talk about those other issues after she has, we have secured. But that was not the point. What I wanted to say is on conflicts between governor and the deputy, I think that is hindering development in the county. And I think most of the time, this is, and I talk from, I'm among the leaders who lead deputy governors in Kenya. And I know we have tried, even in Imeru, we tried our level best. But the governor then sidelined the deputy completely. In fact, even he had no office. He was operating out from some streets. So when you look at even Siaya, we tried our level best, even talking our bosses to intervene. But you see, Dr. Oduol is still out there. In fact, even I don't know whether he has an office. In Kericho from day one, my good friend, Governor Dr. Mutai, has completely sidelined his deputy, Engineer Kirui. We have tried where we can. And then this conflict is as a result of something that was agreed before the election. And once somebody is in the office, you change completely. You become something else. And then you start sidelining, thinking, because maybe we agreed with this person, because he was running and I was running. If we ran two of us, we could have lost. So maybe the party came in and said, you guys, you need to agree. For you to win, you must agree. So now, that agreement, once you are in the office, you forsake and you forget. You start sidelining. You start using your closest. I don't know, county sector, I don't know who. Yeah. And those people you bring together, you start behaving as though that county does not have a constitutionally elected deputy governor. And that's why you are seeing those kind of conflicts. Okay. It is not like these deputy governors, they want to fight. No. We don't want to fight our bosses. We know their constitutional mandate. We pray for them. We support them. But also they need to reciprocate the respect. Okay. You don't have to sideline somebody and then you want everything to be okay. All right. That one is no. All right. Finally, yeah. on my part, I think devolution is the way. Devolution is the way. I'm among the people who hold the opinion that what is remaining with the national government today, the 15% that, although according to the statistics, if we were to base the current, the national budget is current, that financial year and what is expected to be collected nationally in terms of revenue. I wish the counties, the allocation that goes to counties is also current. Okay. That one will solve the problem and change. Yeah. What is remaining in national government should be the 15%. If we want to grow faster and let the 85% go to counties, you will see development, you will see transformation that has never been witnessed in this country. Now, in terms of leadership, it is upon the people. We can also change the way we do things by ensuring we are also ranking what each county has done best. If you do that, each county will be trying to ensure they have something that stands out, not only nationally, not only regionally, but even internationally. Okay. That means the leadership will embrace and will work in collaboration with the institutions of higher learning, so that they are able to incubate an idea, grow that an idea to SME, grow that SME to a multinational, which will provide...
I'm really pressed for time, ladies and gentlemen, but let's bring in some feedback. I'll come to you, CPA Giragu, just to wind up with the thought that you you have. But let me bring in some feedback really quick and hear what the people are saying. Let's bring that up on screen really quick, and then we'll give you each maybe just about 30 seconds for closing remarks each if there's something, a burning statement you have to make. Bobo Tieno says the big elephant hindering devolution is revenue collections can't sustain them depending on national government disbursing money late, leading to pending bills, corruption and conflict of interest. Okay. Octo says corruption didn't disappear, it decentralized. From cartels in Nairobi to ghost projects in the villages, counties have become new homes for scandals. Auditor General reports pile up, but the Senate offers more back than bite. Where's the accountability? Okay? Sir Nixon says devolution will only work for all of us when the national government stops belittling county governments. Too often, it behaves as if this is about separation, not shared governance. Devolution isn't division, it's empowerment at the grassroots. Okay? Ndiema says Kenya's 47 counties are viable. The real threats to devolution are corruption, weak oversight, and ballooning pending bills. Chapter 6 is ignored, and every project comes with a cut for executives and MCAs just in case of impeachment. Chalo says devolution is good if only the funds are used well by the county officers. Misappropriation of funds is the order of the day. EACC should come in swiftly and deal with the culprits. Octo again says the Senate has become a spectator in the oversight of devolution. Year after year, the Auditor General exposes shocking theft, stalled projects, and gross misuse of public funds. Yet the Senate responds with nothing but scripted outrage. No consequences, no accountability. Babu Michael says devolution was and is still the best thing to ever happen in this country. But what worries me is the devolved corruption. When the present governors were assuming power, there was this issue of ghost workers. Who was held responsible? All right. Wangamati, closing remarks on this, just 30 seconds each. And are you worried that the big names like Tim Wanyonyi are coming for that same seat, which you say it's early to go for, but he's also thinking of gunning for Governor of Bungoma? As you close your remarks.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Just before I come to your question, first let me just comment on the political regime between governors and deputy governors. First, I think let's not just narrow this problem at account level. Over the last 10 years, or the last 12 years of the new constitution, we have also had problems at national level. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta had a problem with the current president, when he was the deputy president. The current president now has also had issues with his deputy president. So this political hygiene that we are talking about does not just affect the counties that it's on. I think it also affects the nation. Secondly, quickly, Trevor, is that I think we need a legislation to clearly define the role of a deputy governor. And I think it's something that I saw some time back, the Senate talking about it, and I think it is important that we define what does the role of the deputy governor does. Thirdly, Trevor, I've listened to the comments coming from the public. I think the overriding problem that everyone is talking about is corruption is a fundamental problem. It is an issue. We must have a national conversation about corruption because it affects both national government, county government, and even now, Trevor, corruption now is even in the private sector. So it's an issue that we must address as a country. Coming back to your question about Timothy Wanyonyi, first, let me clarify, Trevor. His name is Timothy Wanyonyi Wetamu. You know, he's a brother to the current Speaker of National Assembly. Him coming to Bungoma to run for governor is his democratic right to run for governor in Bungoma. And I think when he came, when he was launching, he had about 8 out of 9 members of parliament in Bungoma supporting him. As we speak now, I know he's a good friend, Trevor. Out of those 8, I think only 2 are supporting him. I can give you up to December, maybe 1 or 2 will still be supporting him. So let's see. I mean, there's a very big difference. The politics of Nairobi and the politics of Bungoma. And we'll see how a team will be able to go around that. From our position, as I said, have a very clear track record, having been in the office for 5 years. So at the right time, I'll declare my candidature because I can see there's a vacuum. The guys who want to run for governor in Bungoma, I don't see anyone who can match my track record in terms of development.
All right. Thank you, Governor. Kiragu, closing remarks.
Okay, I think it is good to say that last December, we gazetted for the transfer of all functions in a very comprehensive document. And some of the governors already are taking advantage of the empowerment of that gazette notice to seize the functions which they need to seize. Yeah. At the same time, there is a consensus at both the National Accounting and the Council of Governors. We have embarked as IGRTC, we are mobilizing the government to identify all the resources for devolved functions which need to go to county governments. That's an exercise which is ongoing, and when it is done, we think we will have a process by which we are going to transfer substantial more resources to the county governments in the coming fiscal years. And finally, let me say that obviously the whole issue about the credibility of devolution very strongly rests also on the performance of the current governors, how they perform. And those of them who are doing a great job, like we are hearing from Homa Bay and so on, as we hear from Muranga and so forth, those are giving credence to devolution. But once again, I say, let's all agree as a nation, we are in this devolved system of governance. We are not changing it soon. It had better work for Kenya to move at the right speed of socio-economic transformation.
All right, Nyokabi, that is
Sure. I think the point that devolution is our future, and I like the comments that have come from the public. Now everybody agrees this devolution is a good thing, let us strengthen it. And that's what conferences like the one coming, the Devolution Conference, do, where the bottlenecks, how do we unlock them? So inviting everyone to then follow that conversation on strengthening devolution. But then on the other one is the innovation, the growth, the development, and even the SDGs. Remember, we are also on Sustainable Development Goals, and needing those to then be championed by counties. So this frontier is still a frontier that we need to reach out for. On accountability, my view is we strengthen the law, we strengthen the rule of law, the institutions work, and we really fight those corruption issues. But then the values for us as Kenyans. The only time when corruption will stop making sense is when Kenyans stop electing the corrupt. That I steal public money and then I'm not elected. But now if I steal public money for the election, I mean, we are in a chicken and egg kind of thing. I mean, we must elect leaders based on track record, values, systems, devolution, growth, and job creation. We are never going to have jobs for as long as we have corruption.
All right, Mwangangi, 30 seconds.
Thank you. One is, please, let's allow our institutions to work. Let's not micromanage them. Those constitutional institutions, those institutions, whether recognized, as long as they are publicly funded, please allow them to execute their mandate. Devolution is the way. If we have to transform this country fully, create employment, up growth, up what, the best way to go is devolution. Finally, I think it is only fair if we improve. Remember, in the last campaigns, Azimio was proposing 40 to 45% of the total collected revenue to go to devolution. The ones who got elected to power, they were proposing 30 to 35%. I think now that the ODM and WUDA are now together, you get the average of what they were proposing, each one of them, and please strengthen devolution. This is a serious thing. Don't tell Kenyans something, once you are in power, you do the very opposite. On a light note, the country's image is at stake. Why am I saying this? Since Kenya Kwanza came to power, internationally we are accused of all manner of things. Even in the region, where Kenya was seen as a center of peacemaking and bringing people together, now we are seen as opposite. It is a serious thing. Kenyans, we are seeing the best thing to do 2027, prepare.
Thank you so much for making time. His Excellency Francis Mwangangi, Deputy Governor Machakos, His Excellency Wycliffe Wangamati, former Governor Bungoma, Honorable Priscilla Nyokabi, former Woman Rep Nyeri, and CPA Thinji Giragu, Chairman IGRTC. Thank you all for speaking to us on the state of devolution, and thank you all for the feedback that you sent through. We take a quick break now. Coming up next is Cooking Tips. Bye for now.